Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be doing an oil change to this 2011 Dodge Ram Sport. So let's pull her in the shop and let's get started. Alright guys, so we got the truck parked in the shop and we're almost ready to get started. But before I get into the jobs, what I'd like to do is to get everything out that I'm going to need for the job. So this is what I do. I've went ahead and got my oil for this year Dodge. It is a 5 weight 20, and I did go with a full synthetic, and you will need 7 quarts. So I got 2 jugs, I got that covered. You will need an oil filter. I'm not a huge fan of the lower end fram filters, but the high end ultra synthetic ones are actually very good. I know it says 20,000 mile protection, but I'm changing at 5,500 kilometers. You'll need a ratchet with a 13 mil. An oil filter wrench it does come in handy. I mean, I've learned not to over tighten, but for those ones that are kind of on there too snug, it always helps. A pair of nitrile gloves, because you probably will get oily. Fill funnel, so when we go to top it up, we'll need that. And you'll need a nice big oil pan. So, well, we'll get started. We'll pop the hood on this beast, and I'll show you how to get the oil drained. Okay, so you're going to want to start by maybe getting some light under the vehicle so you can see well. And we're going to place our oil filter pan, oil pan. Now, under the Dodge, if you look closely, try to center it there, but there's the back of the oil pan. So we're going to place our oil pan right under that. And we'll get underneath and we'll crack it with a 13 mil. Okay, so once you're under there, we're going to take our 13 mil wrench. Let's see if I can get some light on it for you. And we'll crack that loose. Once that's cracked loose, you can do it by hand. Just make sure your oil filter or your oil pan is in the right position. And be ready to catch the drain bolt, because you don't want to lose it in the pan if you can avoid it. And just like that. Alright guys, so we're going to let that drain for a good 10 minutes. I want to make sure all that oil is out. And we'll clean up and we'll reinstall the drain bolt. Alright, so it's been a couple minutes and you can see it's still draining out nicely. I'll be happy when that comes to a very, very slow drip. Make sure all that old stuff's out. Almost there. Right, so I gave that oil pan a good 10, almost 15 minutes to drain out. And as you can see, it is down to a slow drip. So what I would recommend doing is taking your drain bolt and cleaning it up really well. Making sure there's no debris, nothing on the end, your gasket's good. And what we'll do is we'll clean the drain pan quick first. So just give that a nice wipe. You want a nice clean sealing surface. And we'll reinstall our drain bolt. So we'll thread it in by hand to start. Okay. And then we'll give it a little torque down with the wrench. Again, 13 mil. Doesn't have to be over tight, but just make sure that it's good and snug. So, yep. Alright, so now on to the oil filter. Alright, so on to the oil filter. This is one of the more trickier parts of the job. But first thing is first, we need to locate. So from the front of your truck, Dodge Ram 4th Gen, you're going to go to the left side or left bank, and it's hard to see, but I'll use a pointer. And down inside, in between those AC lines, you'll see a filter. Now, so what I'm going to do is get underneath the passenger side from the front, and I'll show you what I do from there. Follow me. Okay, so once we're under the front passenger side of the truck, as you can see, we found our fram filter. This is from my last oil change. So from experience, I don't over tighten these, and I do put a little bit of oil around the ring, but I'll show you on installation. So I was able to crack this one loose by hand. Now, once you get it loose, you're going to want to make sure you have your oil pan ready, because this does like to drip and leak everywhere. So we'll just go ahead and get that loosened up. Get our drain pan in position. And spins off by hand just nicely. Now, oil is going to come out of here. There's nothing we can do about that. But that's what we want. Try and do this one-handed. Okay. Now, once you've got your oil filter unscrewed, you could always place it in the oil pan, and we're going to let that drain out for a couple minutes as well, and we'll move on to the next step. All right, so now that we have the oil filter draining, we'll prep the next filter. So we'll get it out of this package, and I'll show you what I do. So this is the gasket that I was referring to earlier. Now we're going to put a little bit of oil inside the filter and on that gasket. Now you don't have to, but I do it as good practice. I've heard that it does help the initial startup from being so dry. So I'm just going to put a little bit in. Just like that. There, that filter's like half full. No big deal. Then we'll take a little bit of residual oil and just go around that ring. And that's going to help seal it, and you won't have to crank it on either. So just like that, guys. Alright, so let's get back under the truck. First thing we'll do before we install this filter is we're going to wipe down all the old excess oil. So let's get to it now. Alright, so before we install that filter, like I said, we're just going to give the old spot a quick wipe down. Make sure that the sealing surface is nice and clean, because we want this filter to be on there for a good amount of kilometers. And then once you're ready, you're going to take your oil filter and you're going to slide it over the front cross member. Trying to do this one-handed. Okay, then we're just going to thread it on. Now, so when it comes to tightness, I want to make sure that it's snug, but we don't have to over tighten this. That gasket is going to seal, especially with that little bit of oil that we put on it. So I want it tight, snug, but not over tight. So I'd go snug and then an eighth of a turn. So, yep, I think that's the sweet spot right there. And don't worry, you're not going to be leaking oil as long as it's not loose. Like, it's hard to crank, but I can crank it a little more. I think that's a good spot. All right, guys. Well, let's get our oil pan out and we'll get ready to refill this Dodge. Okay, so now that we got 5 liters in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another liter in, maybe just over, and we're going to start checking our level, because there's usually a little bit of residual left inside. Trying to figure the best way to pour this. So that's just over half a liter. All right. So that's 6 liters that we've put in. I'm going to do about 6 1/4 liters, and then we'll start checking. So just a splash. That's about 6 1/4. Let's check the oil level. Grab a clean shop rag. So the first time is going to be not very accurate, so I like to clean it really well, especially near the tip. And you'll see there's a cross hatching mark, and we want it near the top of that cross hatch. So I still need probably about another half a liter. But just to be sure, I'm going to check it one more time. Maybe even a 1/4 liter. So it's easier to add than to take out. So don't put too much in, just do it in little intervals. Now we'll check it again. And we are spot on. So that's how I do my oil changes on my Dodge Ram quad cab. Hopefully this helps somebody. It's actually a fairly simple job, and I think anybody can do it. All you need is the right tools and a bit of your time. But yeah, so that was basically a step-by-step. And hopefully this helps somebody. And if you like this video, feel free to like, share, subscribe. Do whatever you want to do. We'll see you guys next time.